have huge egos. If you're really smart, you have a huge ego. Businessmen have huge egos. The solution is al-khalwa. And that's where tahqiq al-i'rad an al-khalq, which means that your actions, you're good and bad, and you will not be instigated by trying to please the creation or worried about upsetting the creation. One of the beautiful things about nature, and I wish I could do what you're doing, and one of the things we have to do, one of our plans here is a farm, right? It's because the dependency on the system, as people call it, is extremely dangerous, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Right? As the system becomes more and more complicated. In the old days, if you had a couple sheep and you could pitch a tent and find a well, you're the freest man in the world.
You're good to go.
Right? Today, every inch of land is dictated by some country. It's not like the old days where, okay, I forget this city. I'll go find myself a mountain. I'll make my own patch of land. I get some dogs to protect me, right? Yeah. And I have my family, and I got maybe 2-3 other families, and we got some dogs to protect us and some swords. We're good to go, right?
Not a lot of people know about that, though, Sheikh. I tried to organize a trip before I moved down to South with some guys going up to the mountains, teaching them things about like fire, how to build a fire with a bow drill, how to fish and process fish, hunt, set traps, set up the campsite basically. And I got I had to scrap the whole thing because people were emailing me. Yeah, I'm interested, but do you have Wi-Fi? What?
I mean,
what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean Wi-Fi? You have the Wi-Fi all around you, meaning, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you want to plug into something, plug into nature. And I had other, these are guys, these are men that are asking me, okay, brother, sounds great, but do they have showers there? Do they have like outlets for me to plug in my phone? And I just thought,
man, the world. We have a World Wide Web now. We're in this web. Right. And people born into it cannot fathom life outside of it. And I think it's very important to break this type of dependency, as hard as it is. I mean,
do you know why though, Sheikh? I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist like at all. I can't stand those people. Yeah. But what if something really did happen? And as Muslims, I think a lot of us are going to be like, okay, what do we do? Where do we go? I don't know how to do anything. Okay, the electricity is off. What do I do with my food? Safety. There's a lot of IT type of people out there that wouldn't really know what to do. Things are going to get different. They're going to go, it's going to happen quick. You know what I mean?
And guess who's going to take over? Gangs.
Yeah.
Right. And one of my biggest worries is that if all, let's say the power grid was to go down, right?
Oh.
In a situation, the first thing you need is to live close together and to have security. That's the first thing you need. Like Surah Quraysh tells us, أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. So number one thing, we need a water source. Number two thing, we need a food source. But number three thing, all these suburban homes will be taken over by gangs. Okay?
That's it. It's going to be like The Purge. I don't know if anybody's watched that movie.
We need a gang. Okay? We need to be able to have 5, 10, 20, 30 guys who all know how to securitize a location. Okay? How to edge off a perimeter.
Right.
Because otherwise we're cooked. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how many chickens you have in the backyard, how many generators you have.
You're going to get robbed. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. 3, 4 guys who have no compass, who have no scruples about shooting somebody, you're done with. You're done with. By the way, your wife is not done with. She's going to be their toy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Your boy, he's done with. But your daughters and your wife. So if you're not stimulated to take action, then just think about that for a second. And guess what? It happened in New Orleans.
Yeah.
When that flood happened, roving gangs took over. They were the first people to take over.
Yeah.
So when you have to wake up to the reality of like, what's the negative reality, right? The negative reality is that these gangs, they have a quality to them. They cannot be stopped by one individual, 2 individuals.
They stick together too. They stick together.
They stick together.
They don't ask you about your aqidah or fiqh or what madhab you're from. They don't care. They stick together.
They stick together, and they understand the basics of how to survive. The first thing is who's got the bigger muscles. That's it. Who's got the bigger guns?
Power. That's it.
Its power is the basis of this. So I've been saying for a long time, like I have a friend, he's got a big property and he's got a woods behind this property. What's the value of that property if you don't have a gang? Okay, so all of us, if everything went down, the plan should be take your gold and go to that property and we establish a perimeter. That's the first thing. Right. And then we try to find a well. What's your water source going to be? How are you going to wash? Okay. How are you going to drink?
I'll go to Fred Meyer. I'll go to Costco and get water. Yeah, that's done. That's going to be the first place to go.
Oh, the Costco is going to be a war zone. ShopRite will be a war zone. You can't go by yourself. You're going to have to. Half of your group will defend the perimeter. Half of the group have to go out there and loot supplies. If it's a war zone like this, you can't loot supplies by yourself. You're going to wait online. Wallahi, these guys would wait online, right? All these Teslas be like, oh, hey, let's wait online, guys. Wait online. You got a gang is going to shoot you.
Wait a minute. I have Amazon Fresh. Hold on. Let me see if it's still open. Yeah, that's gone.
And so the nature of basic life existence is that you have to have people with security, but you have to have reconnaissance too, about 5 mile range.
Yeah.
Right. And if it's by foot, then probably a 1.5 mile range. That means 4 or 5 guys got to take a lap every 5 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
They got to, because you can't get surprised.
24-hour security, 24 hours. That's
24 hours.
Yeah.
I feel so insecure about the reality of the way we live in suburban life that we don't have these. This is a militia. Essentially, it's a militia.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think that a militia is a bad thing. I think it's been made to sound like a bad thing.
Protected by
but there's a crazy group out in Pennsylvania. I say the reason that they're crazy is because they're already acting upon this. But guess what? When things go bad, they're the ones who are going to be safe. These guys, they're ex-military people and they're believers in militia. Not all of them are ex-military. Some of them. They actually do reconnaissance marches at 5 a.m. around like the local town, right? It's almost like they're ready, but the problem is that sort of they're wasting their time at this point. But then again, if stuff hits the fan, these are the people who are going to be ready.
Muscle
You're
memory.
Not going to just
they're
be
doing
ready.
It every day, so muscle memory. When
That's
it does
exactly
go down,
what I'm saying.
That's it.
You can write this down on paper. You say, hey, I'll do this, you do that. But unless you practice it, when the real game hits, you're not going to know what to do. Like
I think as well, there's going to be a lot of, I can just see this happening when that does happen and we do the perimeters and stuff like that. There's going to be an element of classism. Well, wait a minute, brother. What do you mean I have to clean the fish? Bro, I'm an engineer. I'm college educated. No, you do it. The truck driver, Ali, you're a truck driver. You're down here. Why don't you do that? And that's when it's going to cave in.
I'm telling you, these guys, I know them, never going to do it.
No.
They won't even prepare for it, right? Something has to happen, and it's got to be real bad in order to get the mass number that you need convinced that this is a necessity. Okay?
Yeah.
That's how human beings work. Someone's got to get hurt first in order for us to realize that this is real. I'm sitting there foreseeing this vulnerability that we have, but most people, they won't act because you can't do this by yourself. You need a good 20, 30 guys.
Yeah.
And their wives have to be in on it too. They have to be in the game.
100%.
You can't convince people to wear masks before COVID until people start dying, right?
Right.
Or that they all shout that it's happening. Then, everyone's wearing a mask and staying home. So this thing happens in waves, right? It doesn't just happen once. There's going to be the first wave of a great amount of insecurity for so long that people's brains will rewire that we need this.
Yeah.
You need a militia to survive.
I've been trying to do this for 15 years. I actually had a business proposal like 15 years ago. I went to the local masjid and tried to do, it's not like there's no weapons involved. There was some martial arts, like I said, some survival out in the woods. I'm ex-military, so teach them a little bit about, a perimeter and, compass and, the whole nine.
Yeah.
And they actually told me that, brother, oh no, we don't. Why do we need to learn martial arts? No. The people are going to think we're terrorists, and they're going to think that you're setting up a terrorist camp. And I just, it's really disheartening for when you can't even convince Muslims to defend themselves, for God's sake. look, I'm not talking about proclaiming the Khalifa inside of America. I'm talking about knowing what to do when some dude socks you in your mouth and your wife is sitting there like, okay, what you gonna do? Well, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna call the police. Guess what? There's no police. They're not
There's
coming
going to be
for
no
you.
police someday.
There's no police.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go to your people. You're gonna have to, but until then, what are you gonna do? Like what? Play video games? I'm sorry, that's not training. You have to really go to like a BJJ place, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai kickboxing or whatever, and actually learn this stuff. You're gonna have to pay some money to go to these weekend retreats and figure out how to operate a bow drill to make your own fire. You're gonna have to learn how to fish. You're gonna have to learn all of these things. I said that, and I joke about this. These days, women, they have their profiles on, marriage sites, halfrdeen.com, things like that. I'm looking for an engineer, 6 figures. He has to have this, and he has, Dean this, which is all good. But when this all goes down, the profiles are gonna change. It's gonna be more like looking for a man that knows how to hunt and fish, that has a good campsite by a river or a lake, a good water source, and that can protect me and is, loves the Second Amendment. There's not going to be a lot of people out there that can really fulfill that if we don't really start realizing what we need to do now. But this conversation has gone from the Sowif now to the end times. This is crazy.
It's not far off to imagine a scenario where the police is saturated.
Yeah.
They're too busy, right? Or overpowered, or that they can't help you because they're just busy putting out other fires.
When this happens, guess where the police are going to go? They're going to go to their families. They're
going to go there to protect his own self. Yeah. He's going to go protect his own self. You're going to be left out to yourself. And when it comes to fighting, it's not just the moves that people have to get accustomed to. And I've thought a lot about this, about myself. You have to program yourself. It's really hard for us to inflict pain on other people if you've never done it before. And if you're not born in a rage, like some people are angry, right? But what if you're born peacefully? You have a mom and dad, everything's going good, right? The idea of inflicting pain on somebody else is also really hard for people's gut to take that. But I remember one time I was driving out to Boston, from Connecticut to Boston, and we drove with a group of people. One of them was an old school brother. His name was Mustafa Abdushakur. Okay. This brother, he was old school.
Even the name sounds old school. Like he's about that life.
He must have been 6'3". He was totally about that life. And I said to him, like, how did you clean the area? And he said, the first thing is the question of, are you ready to inflict pain on another human being? The second question is, are you ready to inflict permanent pain, permanent disability on another human being, right? Most of us, I guarantee you, the guy can be killing us and we will be worried about him. We've been so programmed to compassion and to worry about, people's lifestyle and comfort, that a guy could be killing you and you would be worried about hurting him. Wallahi, we've been so programmed to that.
What would the people say if I defended myself? They're going to say that Muslims are violent. Oh my God.
I'm telling you. You know what he said to me? He said to me, look, he took the keys. It's me and him. Everyone else is asleep in the back of the van.
Yeah.
We're driving from far up in Boston down to Connecticut. Long trip. He said, look, you see these keys? You see a key, but I see something.
Put it between your knuckles.
That could poke your eye out.
Yeah.
And if you don't see that, you put this, you hold this key, right? You just dig it into someone. I'm telling you, this is how he was talking. You dig it into someone's eye, you pull it out, right? That guy will never bother you again. I was like, hey, any of you guys awake back there, right?
Yeah.
But that's what he said, because he's teaching people how to fight. We're not accustomed to hurting other people,
right.
Okay? And that's a weakness, because someday there is someone who deserves to be hurt, and we won't have the guts. I know this stuff in my mind, and I know the first time I would ever have to do this, my nervous system will say no. My nervous system will pump so hard and make me so nervous. But I got to know that that's my nervous system. I got to override the nervous system with my brain and say, do it. You have to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
The second time, my nervous system was like, okay, I've been here before. The third time, I've been here before. Then it becomes normal. Now, you don't ever want society to go there, but I'm just worried we are so dependent on things that if stuff goes down, we are going to be picked off by gangs in 2 seconds.
That's why you have
all
to
these suburban
acclimate.
homes taken over.
That's why you have to acclimate, Sheikh. I mean, in my opinion, because I've wrestled since I was 5, and by the age of 9, I was a state champion. And in my 20s, I've fought 6 MMA matches, 6-0, alhamdulillah.
Ajib, subhanallah, that's crazy.
Alhamdulillah.
What league?
Was that? I was just
What league?
it was amateur here in Seattle. Went to a gym on Madison Street.
Yeah.
But we fought. I fought 6 times in the ring, Muay Thai kickboxing. And the thing is, that's true. If the first fight, I mean, I can even remember when I was 5 years old and I got in my first wrestling match, you feel like you're gonna puke, and sometimes you really do. But that's what I'm saying. We have to, as Muslims, acclimate to these times that could come for defense, not offense, for defense of our own communities, our family, and ourselves. If you're not acclimating, I mean, even my kids, I have 7 kids, every single one of my kids knows something, including the women in my family and my daughters, my 3 daughters and my wife. They know a little bit of something about knife fighting, Filipino eskrima, like stick fighting. And, I have like a rubber fake pistol so we can, practice on how to disarm people. And I have wooden knives for, knife fighting so we can spar. I have katanas and ninjato. I have everything. I have pads and bags and everything. And one of the first things that I taught it's going to sound weird, but what my kids is, I want you to, and this is going to sound weird, but it's actually helpful. From when they were 5 years old or 6 or 7, I said, listen, I want you to know, because the perception in kids' mind is warped of what a fight is. I'm just going to punch him in the mouth and then I'm going to do this. And then, please, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that I did is I said, and all of my kids, every reaction from my oldest, Rashid, I said, I want you to punch me in the mouth, punch me in the face. I want you to punch me in the mouth so you can feel what it feels like. And of course, my kids were scared to death. Daddy, I'm not going to punch you in the mouth. No,
I wouldn't even punch you in the shoulder.
Yeah. And I said, okay, would you punch me in the side of the mouth, like here on the cheek? Yeah. I want your fist to connect with the bone so you know what it feels like. So I can teach you how to punch better with the right 2 knuckles, which are these 2 front knuckles. And so you don't break your hand, because you break your hand, you're done. You're done. You can't punch anymore. You got, you're fighting with 1 arm right now. So I feel like we need to acclimate. All of us need to be in some type of BJJ where we're rolling with other people, rolling meaning, sparring, putting on the gloves. We invest so much money for so much just to be like distracted on nonsense. And a lot of people never, trust me. And you're probably, you probably know people as well. Some people have never been in a fight in their life. Never. And we're not talking about fights. We're not talking about like this fist fight. We're talking about mass pandemonium happening outside when the power grid goes off or whatever. And they've never been punched in the mouth, and they've never even had they've never been in a fight, not even in school.
No. First of all, 2 things I want to say. Our Islamic schools, our private schools, what is more of a useful life trait? You're preparing for life. Learning like karate or a martial art, or playing gym class?
Martial arts all day.
Shouldn't this be part of like 2 years of that should be a basic education, right? In my opinion, it's just like, what's the difference between that and learning how to drive? Learn how to protect your body. So that's number 1. Second thing I wanted to say is that we as Muslims have to come with this concept that our brain and our knowledge must override our bodies and our hormones. Because as you said, there is a nervousness at everything. Okay. And you're going to get into that first fight. You're going to be shaking like this, right?
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Yeah. Your body will not, if you have an oral argument with your wife, you might be shaking.
Yeah.
Because you're not accustomed to being in that zone.
It's chemical. Right? It's chemical.
There's a chemical inside you.
Yeah.
So you have to know that and override it. No different. It's no different than there's a chemical inside me. When a woman passes by, every male is programmed by his creation to look at her, right?
Right.
See if she's beautiful, then he's going to keep looking. If she's not, he's not going to look. Well, we in Islam, we're told you're a human being. Use your brain to assess if that's good or bad for you. So the way we raise our kids, we have to assess that we make decisions by this, not by this emotion. When we have a bee that's stuck in the house, that gets inside between the window and the screen, in our family, every family, I think, takes the cup, and then you put a piece of paper, and you trap the bee. Then you take it outside and you let it live its life. If you find a mouse, okay, you take that mouse, you don't smash it, you cover it up with a pot, put a piece of cardboard, let the mouse go live its life in the woods. Okay, it may be eaten, but at least it live its life. So much compassion for the little things. But we have to say that compassion is because we're told to have compassion for animals. If a thief comes, you don't misplace that compassion now. And that's what I'm saying. I think most people, they will not even stand a chance because he himself will not harm the other person. I watched a documentary where a woman, her husband was abusing her. The husband picked up a gun and she laughed. She said, "Shoot me. You won't have the guts to do it." Right? He shot her in the leg. Like he was trying to kill her, right? But she said, "Shoot me. You don't have the guts to do it." And he didn't have the guts to do it, right? So we don't, and that's in the one sense, because that was oppression in the first place, right? But if someone is deserving it, we have to use our minds to defend ourselves. And that's what I feel we've been so programmed to, softness and compassion, that we might not even go there, even when it's called for, when it's necessary.
All right.
That's the issue.
I mean, even, being in the military,
Yeah.
we've been, and this is what they say. This is not what I'm saying. This is what they say in boot camp. This is a philosophy that the Army has. Never get close to people, and always look for the reasons, for the ways in which, and you can look this up. They say, look for the ways of how everybody that you come across in your life, how you can kill them.
SubhanAllah.
That's what they say. You can look it up. This is a Marine Corps and this is an Army basic. Everybody that you come across in life, figure out how to kill them. And this is disclaimer. This is not, telling people, I'm not advocating violence or calling for it or condoning it. But this is what the Army says, and that's their mentality. So this is who you're dealing with. You're dealing with actually people worse than this, that it's going to be like the purge, and they just don't care. It's just going to be dog eat dog, and that's it.
The vulnerability really bugs me. When I was young and went to Morocco for the first intensive study, and they put us in an old madrasa. This madrasa was filled with roaches, and we had to sleep. Right? There's no authority you're going to call. So I thought to myself, like, how do I do this? Right? All you had to do is you have to imagine the worst case scenario, which is the roach crawls up your nose, right? The roach crawls into your ear. If you shut your eyes and you can, okay, it crawled up my nose. No big deal. Blow my nose in the morning, right? If you visualize that enough and meditate it, you can overcome it. Okay. Likewise, I hated the fact of being ignorant, right? In fiqh. So I studied. Likewise, now I hate the fact that the concept of being vulnerable physically in the world.
Yeah.
So everyone's got to find a way to overcome that. Right? You have to visualize it and sort of meditate upon overcoming this vulnerability. If I was part of the team, I'd be a sniper. Right? If I was part of this team, whether it's by arrows or by guns, I'd be on the roof sniping. Right? That's like my comfort zone.
That's a tough one. That's one of the toughest jobs.
It is a tough job. It's a highly skilled job, right?
Yeah.
And when I watch these movies and I see this, the assassin, he goes in with a nice suit. He drills a hole in the hotel room. He does the job. He sends the message. The $75,000 comes into his bank account. He's off to the next city, right? What a life, right? All peace and quiet. Don't get dirty. We're in a nice suit, snipe, do the job, and leave, right? So I remember getting my first fight. I was so scared. But then when I got hit in the face, I was like, wait a second. That's it.
That's not so bad.
I thought it would be far worse, right? A guy like old fashioned, like winds up. He wound up, right? And then he came on me, and I was like, or he punched me in the face. I was like, wait a second, that wasn't even that bad, right? So in any event, you might as well split this video into two parts: half tasawwuf, half I don't know if you heard that, but you might as well split this video into two videos: tasawwuf and
the day of judgment, end of times.
Yeah, defend yourself. We have a vulnerability. We have a vulnerability on resources, food. Okay, we have so many vulnerabilities. These really bugging me. These vulnerabilities.
Yeah. No, you're talking about your fight. I think I can remember.
Oh, I said, yeah, this guy wound up, right? He like wound up, and I saw it coming, and you've never been there before, so you just freeze, right? And then he got me, and then I didn't even like flinch, almost like he hit me, and then I was like, that's it. That wasn't that bad, right? At that point, you're 10 feet taller, right? Because you feel like that punch was not that bad.
I can do anything now.
Yeah, you're not worried about people anymore. Because if you can take the hit, you have to have your jaw. People either have a jaw or don't, right? Now, I wasn't hit in the jaw, I was hit like in the eye, but you either have it or you don't. But I think everyone could get accustomed to that.
Yeah, of course you can.
And once you get accustomed, you're not worried about people anymore.
I mean, if kids can get accustomed to it, you as an adult can be accustomed to it. I mean, I got into one of the biggest fights that I've been in, even in my whole life, was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
And they had this exchange student from Finland, and he came to know that I was Norwegian in my ethnicity, and so Finland and Norway really don't get along. So I don't know. So he kept on. Back in the day, I had like white hair, like white, very very blonde, and so he used to mock me. He used to say he was mocking the Norwegian accent. He was oh, look at the blonde Viking, look at, and it just used to really like piss me off, So finally one day I said, I had enough of this guy. So on the playground, I saw him playing basketball. So I was kind of watching him from the outside, and I I took a basketball, and his name was Kari. And I said, this is the day that I get my revenge. And so I said, hey, Kari. And I was running at that time, and he was bigger than me. And so I take this ball and boom, right to the face, dead to the face. And we just start fighting right there in the yard. We fought so bad. I mean, I had blood coming from my nose. He had blood come from his nose, mouth, everything. We beat the heck out of each other. And so my grandfather had to come, the one is Norwegian on that side. And he said, what's the problem? And the principal was like, these boys just beat the hell out of each other. What do you mean, what's the problem? He said, no, these are two Nordic brothers fighting. They're just playing. Yeah. And so the principal was just like, go home. I don't know what else to say after hearing this old guy talk about Nordic brothers fighting and having fun.
When you have a fight like that, you actually just eliminated anyone else from fighting, like 98% of the people from fighting.
Yeah. And here's the thing, by the way, we became best friends after that.
So, because you
and we still are.
That. Yeah.
And after that fight, they came to know that, okay, and we teamed up. And so after the fight, we were best friends. Yeah. And now the school was like, okay, these Nordic brothers, we're in trouble. This is the team right here. So yeah.
They removed bullying from school so much because I think they misinterpreted a lot of male interaction is not bullying. Okay. A lot of it's not bullying. A lot of it is sort of like toughening each other up. And a lot of it, the verbal banter and the physical banter is more like toughening people up. Okay. And that's very healthy to do.
Yeah, with guys, if you like somebody, you insult them. What else do? You're going to insult them if you like them.
You start bothering them, picking on them. But then they removed it so much for so long that when a real bully came around to run for president, nobody could stop him. Nobody had a clue. He could never have gotten away with this nonsense in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. There were enough people who were immune to this stuff, right? But they softened everyone so much that he came with that intensity that everyone just cracked.
Yeah.
And you're watching this and you're like, you can't believe he's gotten so far just on bullying, because that's all he did.